Hi, I'm Alex Beckstedt.
And I'm Jillian Eberline.
Thanks for joining us on the 10-Minute Tack-Up, brought to you by My New Horse. We're going to sit down for a quick, honest chat about all things horse ownership. So on this episode of our 10-Minute Tack-Up, Jillian and I are going to take things totally back to basics and talk about some of the daily horse care tasks that you should never skip out on, as well as a couple of things that we personally are very particular about doing on a daily basis with our horses. So I'll just get it started with the things like if you are in a rush, if you have no time in the day to take care of your horse and you're heading out to work or errands or whatever, the must-dos I would say on my list are check your horse's water, make sure that the buckets and troughs are clean, refill them with fresh water as needed. Just make sure your horse has plenty of access to fresh water, and then make sure your horse has plenty of access to forage. So if your horse is turned out all day, great. Maybe toss a little extra hay into the paddock. If he's in a stall for any portion of the day, make sure that he has plenty of high quality forage throughout the day. And so, yeah, the fresh water, free access to forage. And then if you have time, give your horse just a once over. Just like make sure nothing's bleeding, make sure nothing's limping, make sure there's no rocks sticking out of the foot, things like that. Those are just like bare minimum, do it every day.
Yeah.
But Jillian, like, what do you look for when you go to the barn every day? Because you're going out there almost every day to see your horse, even though he's not on your property. Like, you're with him every day.
Yeah, I go every morning, which is fun. I love it because it makes me it just gives me something to look forward to in the morning. But what I normally do is I bring him in from the pasture, and I always make sure that there's no fence post down. Look to see if there's any rocks, like any big rocks that he might have stepped on. Bring him in, put him in the cross ties, and like you're saying, just kind of do a once over. I'll groom him, look at his feet, feel his legs, and then if I see anything, I'll make a note in my phone to either talk to like my trainers about or be like, oh no, I know how to doctor this. Like I can handle this. Sometimes if it's really hot down here in Florida, I'll hose him off in the morning and then let him dry in front of the fans. So I like to make sure his legs are completely dry before I put him back either outside or in a stall because scratches are so popular down here.
Yes.
That I am so particular about it. Everyone at the barn could probably attest to it and they probably hate it. But I'm like, his legs cannot be wet. Now, the rest of his body should be dry too, but that's where I'll towel dry. I'll put fans on it. I will graze him. I'm like, this needs to be handled before I leave today.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, when I go out, like even if I'm not riding, I definitely the first thing I do is take a look at my horse's stall because this time of year, my horse would be stalled during the day when it's really, really hot, and then he goes out at night.
Same with Charlotte.
Yes, it comes back in the morning. So I go in there, I check the water buckets. Again, I board my horse. So I check the water buckets. If they are looking low, I refill them. If he doesn't have any hay in his stall because he just finished it all, I toss him a few flakes. And then I just peek in the stall and see if anything looks weird, like manure piles. Yeah. Is it super dirty? I'll clean it out. And like you said, just giving your horse a once over, picking the feet, obviously. I'm obsessive about checking limbs and feet for heat, swelling, thrush, scratches, the bane of our existence in the summer, especially. Because I actually had a horse a couple years ago who he was turned out at night during the summer. And the barn staff brought him in the morning and put him in a stall. Didn't see anything wrong. And when I came out a couple hours later to give him a once over, I wasn't even riding him that day. I just went in the stall and went to pick out his feet. And he had a 2-inch nail embedded into the sole of his foot.
My
so
God.
It's like if you don't, he wasn't limping obviously when he came in from the paddock. So it's not anybody else's responsibility to pick the horse's feet but mine. So that's why it's so important to just it just takes literally an extra minute of your day to check those sort of things.
Yeah. Okay, so now those are some daily things. Now, what are some weekly things that you think you're like, okay, every week this is on my list?
Well, I'm obviously going to make sure I give my horse a really, really good grooming at least once a week. I might not have time to really do a deep elbow grease groom every day or even every other day. I also think there's a lot of seasonal things that I do during different times of the year, obviously blankets on and off or checking under blankets, fly sheets and fly masks on and off, checking for cuts, scrapes, rain rot, hives, ticks, depending on the time of year. There are things I look for on a regular or routine basis, if not daily.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have any seasonal considerations or weekly things that you do?
Seasonal, I'll look for bots on his legs.
Yeah.
Just because, once again, I am so freaked out about making sure his legs stay as clean as possible. But I would say weekly, I take a look at my tack and I make sure
yeah.
to clean
Good
it,
point.
like clean my bit, clean my bridle. I mean, we wash our girths every day, but like just making sure that like everything is put back where I know it is so I can start the next week off, and like his boots and his polo wraps and his fly, like just that kind of like, I normally do that on the weekend where I have some extra time where I'm like, okay, let
Yeah.
me regroup. I make sure to graze him on the weekends, like for as long as I can, just to, but yeah, I would say really just checking my tack. And like, to me, that's important because I don't want to put a dirty bit in his mouth, or if my saddle is disgusting, not that it bothers him, but I'm like, that's going to bother me in a week when I skipped it.
Yeah, and especially during the summer, like the weekends is definitely when I like pack up all my polo wraps and dirty saddle pads and my cloth girths, and they all go into the wash.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I know that I have to pay particularly close attention to my horse. I've had a couple spells in the recent years where my horse is on stall rest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not out there riding and grooming him as regular a basis, or he might not be getting handled by barn staff as frequently because he is on stall rest. So he's not going in and out of the paddock. They're not putting blankets and fly masks and things on and off like normal. So that's when I find it particularly important to make sure that I do make a point to go out, give my horse a once over, see how his body condition's looking, make sure he's not going out of his mind in his stall, and trying to self-destruct. So there are different considerations when they're on stall rest, particularly. But what else would you recommend? Because you and I have always boarded our horses. I've either done self-care or full care.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting that in the comments sometimes when we talk about boarding our horses that people are like, oh, you're so spoiled. Someone takes care of your horse for you. And I don't see it that way because I have never had the opportunity to have my horse on my own property. Like I've never had access to land. I always live in the suburbs. So it's fun. I just think it's funny how some people think that boarding is a luxury when boarding is actually something that I have to budget extra money for and vet out the farms that are going to take good care of my horse. And yeah, I don't have to be out there 24/7 caring for him, but it's just, I think it's just funny side note how boarding for some people is considered a luxury when I think it would be a luxury to have my horse in my backyard, but suburbia doesn't allow that.
I wish I could have Shiloh in my backyard, but not possible. I think too, it's like, this is going to sound crazy. When I'm driving home from the barn in the morning, I'm like, tomorrow, let's do this. And I like start making a list and I'm like, still doing a bunch of things because I'm like, I love it. But going back to what you said earlier, I think I also take a look and see like, what's my fly spray at? How are my brushes looking? Or even the barn's brushes. Like if the barn's brushes are dirty, I'm like, let's just clean them. Like just some of that stuff because it's so hot down here and things get gross really quickly.
Yeah. And also like you said with fly spray, restocking things before you run out,
Mm-hmm.
You have to be proactive with all of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I really look for. Like I said about the paddocks, like you said about their stalls, making sure that they're not tearing it down. Shiloh is a spoiled little princess, so he has a toy in his stall. So he likes to flip it over his stall and play with the other horses with it. So I like to make sure that his toy is in his stall because I'm like, knowing your neighbors, they're gonna destroy this. And yeah, I guess
I'm convinced that you don't have a horse, you have a puppy dog.
He's literally
17-hand puppy dog.
Yeah, he's literally like my little doodle that I have. Like they are the same. Yeah, he has a little popsicle toy in his stall because for a while it was so hot, like you're saying, that he's still going out at night, but the sun is out so much longer. So I was like, you need something to entertain yourself until it gets cooler because I was like, you can't, like, this is bad. No, he's a giant dog. He is genuinely, he's actually a Great Dane, if you didn't know.
Well, that makes sense. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why he's so big.
Well, I will add one more thing before we sign off here that I remember that I do every day that I look at my horse is when I go in the stall, I'm just looking at his general demeanor. Like, does he greet me at the stall when I come to the front? Because he knows I have treats. And so if he's not there nickering for me, my radar is going to go off. Yeah. Is he alert? Is he moping in the back of his stall? Is he eating? Those sort of things are those super subtle signs that only you as a horse owner are going to pick up on.
Yeah.
And so every day when you go to your horse stall or paddock or wherever your horse lives, just to be aware of those things. I think those are big tells.
That's a good one. I didn't even, I do it, but I think it's so.
You do it. Yeah, you do it just on instinct. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's important to know your horse and know what, like you're saying, what's normal, what's abnormal, when to raise the flag of, okay, this is not normal. I need another opinion. Or just, he could be having a bad day. Like, it's nothing serious. He's mad that I'm here at 6 a.m.
Well, if anybody has some other daily tasks that they do that we overlooked, please leave us a comment in YouTube or email us at mynewhorse@equinenetwork.com. And we will see you next time.
See ya.